Destiny 2's second episode is only a few weeks away, and on October 8th we'll get access to Revenant, which is the second annual installment following the final shape, of course. There's a lot of anticipation for this content, as well as curiosity to see exactly what Bungie will do. And so in this video we're going to talk about the new content that we'll be playing in a few weeks' time. And we've got previews of new loot systems, new rewards themselves, armor sets, weapons, and the general theme for the new content drop. But on top of that, Bungie have a handful of changes planned for the second episode, from quality of life improvements on exotic class item drops and progression changes, as well as updates that will affect the weekly reset content, activity rotations, and, as always, sandbox tuning. So there are going to be a bunch of weapon buffs, adjustments to exotic armor pieces, subclass updates, fixes, and more, which we'll break down in the video today. So, as always guys, I hope you enjoyed this one and find it useful. If you do, drop us a comment down below with any of your thoughts on the changes or new content coming up. But otherwise, let's get into it. And so firstly, let's have a quick preview of Revenant based on what Bungie showed off in the episode reveal for the year. And Revenant is going to be Fallen and Scorn themed, with Fickrell having captured the second Echo and building a new army of vampire Fallen. So a slightly new twist on the Fallen aesthetic, I suppose. And Bungie have said the sort of dungeon and Fallen vampire theme is going to be a very significant component of this content drop. So on a story level, it will be certainly quite interesting. But focusing more on the gameplay component, Bungie have said there'll be a new potion crafting system, and this will essentially be the loot system for this content drop, where Ido, House Scribe, by the looks of it, will be helping us out. And there'll be different potion types, those that affect the rewards that we'll earn, and those which will be more sort of sandbox focused and affect gameplay. And it's likely that all of that will be housed at the seasonal vendor. It also looks like there'll be a sort of new hub for this as well. Not sure if this will be in the helm, it doesn't necessarily look like it. We'll have to wait and see, but in terms of rewards, there'll be some pretty interesting looking new weapons and armor. So starting out with the armor, Bungie have shown off two different sets. It's possible that one will be earned through actual gameplay and activities, and the other one perhaps for the season pass, but there's a sort of Scorn themed set, as well as a more Fallen Splicer themed set of gear. But they've additionally shown some weapons, and some of them potentially could be exotics. We'll have to wait and find out, but there's a Fallen themed weapon here, which looks pretty awesome. We also got a very brief sneak peek of it in some of the gameplay. And then along the lines of the kind of vampire hunter theme, there's a weapon here that looks almost like a stake or something. And there have been a bunch of pretty cool cinematics that they've shown off here as well. So thematically, at least, there is a lot of potential. We'll have to wait for more details about activity content and things like that. But otherwise, the one thing that we do know regarding new activity content inside of this episode is that we'll get a new dungeon, and it'll launch on October 11th. So Bungie have said on Friday, October 11th at 10 AM Pacific time, the new dungeon will drop, featuring a contest mode for the first time. So at least 24 or 48 hours worth of contest in the initial launch phase for this dungeon. Otherwise, we don't know about the theme of it, but Bungie have confirmed that Icebreaker will be a reward for it. So, of course, this is returning from Destiny 1. Otherwise, we don't know specifics on perks, how the weapon has changed, and all of that kind of stuff. But interesting that it will feature as part of the dungeon, and give us your thoughts about it down below. Moving on though, of course, the new content won't be the only things we'll get access to with this episode. And next there'll be gameplay changes. So one of the big things Bungie will introduce is exotic class item attunement. And from the dev preview, it says attuning to a perk will increase the chance for exotic class items to drop with the selected perk, and only one perk may be attuned to at a time. So we'll be able to select a perk from the first or second column, which will have a significantly improved drop chance. I'm sure we'll get more details about that soon, but also Bungie will be updating Pathfinder, and they say they plan to split Pathfinder cards per activity, so the Ritual Pathfinder will now have separate nodes for Crucible, Gambit, and Strikes, as opposed to there being a generic Ritual Pathfinder. So if you're looking to avoid Gambit or the Crucible or any of the playlists, there'll now be a dedicated node, which is going to have far more objectives in the selected playlist. So that'll be a big plus, and additionally, Bungie say they have changes to the rotations for raids and dungeons. So, starting on October 8th, Bungie say Warlord's Ruin, the dungeon, will enter the rotator queue, and that will mean there are a total of 8 raids and 8 dungeons. So, they're additionally going to double the number of featured rotator activities available every week. And this way, the maximum time that can pass between a specific raid or dungeon will be 4 weeks. And so on the week of October 8th, there will be both Last Wish and Vow of Disciple featured. Then for dungeons, we'll see Shattered Throne and Duality featured at the same time. So, twice the amount of content featured at any given moment, which is certainly good for players looking to catch up, but is also a little bit more varied in general for players. And there'll be 4 of these endgame activities featured every single week. back. Otherwise though, for announced changes, there will be the sandbox-focused updates. This will affect quite a lot of different types of gear, but there'll also be the update for Choir of One, and that will reduce the reserve ammo, which will go down to around 200 at base and 300 with reserves. But they'll also fix a bug where Divinity was allowing the weapon to do approximately 250% more damage than it should be against combatants. So that's the first change that we'll notice, but otherwise, they've previewed additional changes and updates to some underperforming perks on exotic class items, especially for Titans. So on top of the class item attunement, we'll get more specific buffs for the perks. Plus they've said there'll be buffs and reworks for underutilized exotic armor pieces, and those will include Blight Ranger, Mask of the Quiet One, Skull of Dire Ahamkara, and more. Plus they add there'll be plenty of other small tweaks to exotic armor aiming to provide meaningful utility boosts. So it's positive that a bunch of that stuff is going to be updated as well. I'll keep you posted when we get specific details about what will change, but they'll also be making some changes to weapons across the board, and they've said they're looking to buff underperforming subfamilies like adaptive SMGs and rapid-fire heavy grenade launchers, as well as an increase to shotgun range in PvE, which apparently will be fairly significant. But those exotic tuning changes will also apply to weapons, and they're looking to buff numerous underutilized exotic weapons, including Huckleberry, Chaperone, Bad Juju, the Exteris, and Prospector, as well as perk updates like Iron Banner specific perks, changes for Slideways, Alloy Mag, and Master of Arms. So there'll be quite a few existing archetypes and pieces of gear in the game which will be worth pulling out and trying again. Plus they've said there will be a significant weapon mod rework, which will also include the addition of 10 new mods, or at least 10 new mods. So as we've seen with other seasons and episodes, it looks like this one will start with a reasonably significant sandbox update, and more of that will become clear in the next few weeks as we head up to Revenant. Another small mention here, but Bungie say there'll be fixes for Consecration and Diamond Lance Crystal Shadow issues in the patch for Episode 2 as well. Otherwise, for now, those are the bulk of things that we know about for Episode 2, but if you're interested in that content and want to find out more, I'll be keeping you posted as Bungie give us new details. So again, keep it locked and loaded here on the channel, get subscribed, turn on notifications so you don't miss out on anything, but also let us know in the comment section what stands out most to you guys. Whether it's the new content or the changes, I'd love to get your thoughts in the comment section. But otherwise, thank you as always for tuning in today, and whatever you get up to, I hope you guys have an awesome day.
Revenant is going to be very Fallen themed.
The Fallen don't have a home planet anymore. Reese has been gone for a long time, and they've been looking for a new home across the galaxy.
Revenant has more dark fantasy themes. It's about slaying vampires with a touch of Splicer mixed in.
The player gets to be a Slayer Baron. We'll learn that in Elixni culture, this was a role that was reserved for the most renowned monster hunters.
For that one, we took a really hard lean into the vampire hunter fantasy.
We're introducing a system called potion crafting. Combat potions boost your artifact directly, then your loot potions, those are going to allow you to have agency over the rewards that you're chasing. What we'd like to do in year 10 is give players more agency in their pursuits. You'll see more experiences where you can kind of decide what you want to do in this next step.
Fikrul is back, and he's got the Echo. And this is what Fikrul's using to build his new Army of Darkness. And he's moved into an Awoken Watchtower. Fikrul's Vampire Keep. We took a lot of inspiration from horror for that one.